Good morning to everyone. I will start about the pericardium and coronary arteries lecture of the thoracic region. You can see in the given diagram here anteriorly the sternum, posteriorly you can see the vertebral column, and between these two the mediastinum. This mediastinum is divisible at the level of the sternal angle into superior and inferior. Now here it is divisible into three vertically: anterior mediastinum, middle mediastinum and posterior mediastinum. Now according to our topic, the middle mediastinum includes the heart and its great vessels, and which is covered by the protective layer is called the pericardium, and arteries supplying the heart called the coronary arteries. So my topic is that the pericardium and coronary arteries located in the middle mediastinum. Now you can see here the external features of the heart. We will do along with the demonstration. But this is the chamber, these are the chambers of the heart. You can see here the right atrium. During the development in the intrauterine life, the heart is rotated 45 degrees. So that's why the heart is shifted more towards the left side, and anterior aspect is projecting forward and posterior aspect slightly projecting more backward. So this is about the right atrium. There are the four chambers, upper two atria and lower two are ventricles. We can visualize here in the given diagram the right atrium, then the right ventricle, and here is the left ventricle. Due to the rotational portion, we can visualize the portion of the left ventricle. Now here you can see here in the given diagram the left atrium, which is all completely located on the back side. Right? So we'll do about the heart. We can see the apex of the heart. We can see the upper border of the heart. Here the great vessels are visualized. So right atrium receives the tributaries greatly. Here you can see the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. Now the right ventricle, which convey the deoxygenated blood towards the lungs. So here the pulmonary trunk, which is divisible into two pulmonary arteries. We can see the right and the left pulmonary arteries. Right? Now the left ventricle is going to form the main part of the apex of the heart, which give rise to the aorta. The aorta is divided into three parts. One is called the ascending aorta, then arch of aorta, and the descending aorta. Ascending aorta give rise to the two coronary arteries through the aortic sinuses. Now you can see the arch of aorta gives the subclavian artery, and the common carotid arteries are supplying the upper limb and head and neck respectively. Now this is the arch of aorta. So these are the chambers of the heart according to the diagram, and these are the great vessels at the upper border of the heart, which are in the pericardium. Again we can see here the aorta, the ascending aorta, the part of the aorta, ascending aorta, then arch of aorta and the descending aorta. The coronary arteries are arises from the ascending aorta. How does it arises? We'll let you know later on. Now the great vessels here we can visualize in the diagram. Now pericardium. What is pericardium? Pericardium is a protective cover for the heart, which comprises the fibrous pericardium and the serous pericardium. Fibrous pericardium and serous pericardium collectively together encloses the heart, pulsating from the womb to tomb. Heart is a vital organ in the human body which pumping blood to the entire body. The pericardium, Greek word called the heart, is a fibroserous sac which encloses the heart and root of the great vessels, as we have seen in the previous diagram. It is situated in the middle mediastinum according to the diagram we have seen. Now we can see here completely the chambers of the heart along with the great vessels. Now heart is completely covered by the protective cover called the pericardium. If you will do the incision on the side of the heart, we can lift it up here the pericardium. Now we can visualizing the chamber of the heart. Now we can see the part of the pericardium. As per the lecture, pericardium is divisible into fibrous pericardium, which is visualizing here. The second is the serous pericardium. Serous pericardium is again divided into two layers. Close to the heart chambers called the visceral pericardium, that is the inner layer of the serous pericardium. Outer layer of the serous pericardium, that is called the parietal pericardium. So, serous pericardium is divisible into visceral pericardium and parietal pericardium. So, we can see here the fibrous pericardium. So, fibrous pericardium is closely adjoining with the parietal pericardium, that is a part of the serous pericardium. Now, close to the chamber of the heart, here you can see the visceral pericardium. So between these two, the parietal and the visceral, there is a cavity that is called the pericardial cavity, and that pericardial cavity contains the little bit film of the fluid which prevent the friction during the heartbeat. Now, fibrous pericardium, as per the diagram, encloses the heart and fuses with the great vessels which enter or leave the heart. Heart is situated within the fibrous and serous pericardial sacs. As heart develops, it invaginates itself into the serous sac without causing any breach in its continuity. The last part to enter the region of the atria, from where the visceral pericardium is reflected as the parietal pericardium. Now, fibrous pericardium. What are the parts of the fibrous pericardium? We can see here the relations of the fibrous pericardium to the root of the great vessels to the diaphragm of the sternum. The fibrous pericardium here is a conical shape. Now it's having the apex, base and relations are anteriorly, we will discuss it. It's a conical shape made up of the fibrous tissue. We can see in the diagram completely the fibrous pericardium that is in the conical shape. Right? Now the apex is blunt. You can see the apex of the fibrous pericardium is visualizing in the given diagram is a blunt and lies at the level of the sternal angle. And apex is fused with the root of the great vessels and with the pretracheal fascia of the deep cervical fascia of the head and neck. Now base is broad and inseparably blended with the central tendon of the diagram. We can see here in the diagram, this is the diaphragm. The thoracoabdominal diaphragm separates the thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity. So the base is on the central tendon of the diaphragm. Now anterior is connected to the upper and lower ends of the body of the sternum by weak superior and sternopericardial ligament. The word itself suggesting that between the sternum and the pericardium, the ligaments are called respectively superior and inferior sternopericardial ligament. We can see in the diagram. So anteriorly related are the superior and inferior sternopericardial ligaments. So we can see this is the sternum. We can see the sternum and this is the manubrium of the sternum and the body of the sternum joining here going to form the manubriosternal joint. All the midline joint cartilaginous joint and that joint is here is known as the anteriorly sternal angle. The many changes occur at the level of the sternal angle. We can demonstrate in the clinical aspect on either side for counting the ribs. Now posteriorly, fibrous pericardium, it is related to the principal bronchi. We can see here the trachea is visualizing here the sternal angle level, right? So at the level of the sternal angle, this trachea is divided into two principal bronchi, right? Now here that's why the fibrous pericardium posteriorly related to the principal bronchi, right? Now principal bronchi, the esophagus with the nervous plexus around it and thoracic aorta. We can see the esophagus is there, the trachea is there, so posteriorly fibrous pericardium is related to the principal bronchi and the esophagus. Okay, so these are the anteriorly and these are the posteriorly related. Now on each side it is related to the mediastinal pleura because the mediastinum is a central cavity. On either side of the mediastinum there are the pleural cavity, including here the called vital organs for the body. These are the lungs on each side, and covering protective layer of the lungs called the pleura, like heart, pericardium, like lungs called pleura. In the abdominal content called the peritoneum. So pleura, so part of the pleura is called the mediastinum. So on each side it is related to the mediastinal pleura, the mediastinal surface of the lung as per the phrenic nerve and the pericardiophenic vessels. Now fibrous pericardium functionally protects the heart against the sudden overfilling and prevents against overexpansion of the heart. Now diagram showing here the relations. We can see here the fibrous pericardium and both of these two. The heart and its great vessels protective layer is completely visualized. Here the pericardium. Now we can see here the section. The line of the incision is given here and layer of the pericardium. So we can see here the outer is the fibrous and inner is this color, red color is indicating the serous pericardium. Serous pericardium, outer is the parietal layer and inner is the visceral layer, right? So inner is the visceral layer. So between these two is the pericardial cavity. Now next is the serous pericardium. Is a double layered thin serous membrane lined by the mesothelium. The outer layer of parietal pericardium fused with the fibrous pericardium. You can see fibrous pericardium and outer parietal layer, both of these two are fused with the blue color indicating fibrous pericardium, red color, orange color indicating serous pericardium. So serous pericardium, this is a parietal layer. Parietal layer and fibrous pericardium, both of these two are fused with each other. The inner layer visceral pericardium, also called the epicardium, is fused to the heart. You can see here the content chambers of the heart, the visceral layer of the epicardium, and here we can see this is the fused with the chambers of the heart. Now we can see here the inner layer visceral pericardium or epicardium is fused to the heart except along the cardiac grooves where it is separated from the heart by the blood vessels. The two layers are continuous with each other at the root of the great vessels. You can see two layers are continuous at the root of the great vessels. These are the superior vena cava, arch of aorta and the pulmonary arteries. Ascending aorta, so at the root of the great vessels, ascending aorta, pulmonary trunk and the four pulmonary veins. Now what is pericardial cavity? As we have discussed, shown in the diagram, previous diagram, the pericardial cavity is a potential space between the parietal pericardium, that is outer layer of the serous pericardium, and inner layer of the serous pericardium is the visceral layer. So between the parietal and the visceral layer of the pericardium, there is a potential space between the pericardium. It contains a thin film of serous fluid which lubricates the opposed surface and allows the heart to beat smoothly. Now, collection of the fluid in this cavity abnormally condition called the pericardial effusion or cardiac tamponade. Now, we can see here the pericardial cavity is visualizing here in the given diagram. Okay, this is the visceral layer of the serous pericardium. This is the parietal layer of the serous pericardium and black color indicating the pericardial cavity, and outermost layer is called the fibrous pericardium. Now the important practical in the dissection, sinuses of the pericardium. What are the sinuses of the pericardium? The pericardium at the root of the great vessels is arranged in the form of two tubes. Will show in the diagram. Right, you can see in the given diagram. So these are the chambers. You can see at the upper border of the heart, the great vessels of the heart. We can see the vena cava. We can see the pulmonary trunk. We can see here the ascending aorta. So don't be confused with the bluish color because deoxygenated blood running in the pulmonary trunk. And later on, it gets oxygenated from the lungs. Now we can see index finger passing through the transverse sinus. We can see introduced. So upper border of the heart, these are the great vessels from the superior vena cava, ascending aorta and the pulmonary trunk. And upper border of the heart, we can introduce our finger when you will when you will dissect the heart from the dissection hall. We can visualize. In the given diagram, you can see the pulmonary trunk. We can see the ascending aorta. Both of these two are the ascending aorta and pulmonary trunk. This is the another tube. And you can see here the inverted J. Inverted J. The short limb, vertical limb of the J is here going to form by the posteriorly on the left atrium, the left pulmonary veins. Right? On the right side, these two are the now here indicating color, red color indicating that the pulmonary veins, which are the exceptional veins in the body, which convey the purified blood from the lungs to the heart and drain into the left atrium later on. Now, so here the pulmonary veins are four, right? Two superior and two inferior, right and left. Now we can see here the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. As per discussion, inverted J is there. So short limb, vertical limb going to form by the left pulmonary veins and right long vertical limb of the inverted J is formed by the superior vena cava, two pulmonary veins right side and the inferior vena cava. So when you introduce the finger here between these two, and that is called the arrow in oblique sinus. I hope you will understand nicely. So the transversely going introducing finger between these two, the ascending aorta and pulmonary trunk, and these are two. That is the transverse sinus and here is the oblique sinus in inverted J. So how many sinuses of the pericardium? Two. One is the transverse and one is the oblique. So here we are the sinuses. So arterial tube encloses the ascending aorta and pulmonary trunk at the arterial end of the tube. We can see here arterial end. Okay. Now here we can see venous tube encloses the vena cava, superior and inferior vena cava respectively, and the four pulmonary veins at the venous end of the heart tube. So we can see here the venous end. Okay. Now here the passage between the two tubes known as the transverse sinus of the pericardium as we have shown in the diagram. So the pericardial cavity seen after removal of the heart. Note the reflection of the pericardium and the mode of formation of the transverse and the oblique sinuses. We can see here the finger is passing through the transverse sinus. We can see here the arrow in the transverse sinus, and these are the another diagram. We can see here the oblique sinus. So transverse sinus, what is transverse sinus of the pericardium? Is a horizontal gap between the arterial and the venous ends of the heart tube, bounded anteriorly by the ascending aorta and pulmonary trunk, posteriorly by the SVC and the superior vena cava, and inferiorly by the left atrium. On each side it opens into the general pericardial cavity. During development, to begin with, veins of the heart are crowded together. As the heart increases in size and these veins separate out, a pericardial reflection surrounds all of them and forms the oblique pericardial sinus, narrow gap behind the heart. Now, what is oblique pericardial sinus? How many sinus is? 2. One we have discussed, transverse, second is the oblique, which is bounded anteriorly by the left atrium, posteriorly by the parietal pericardium, on right and left side, either side bounded by the reflection of the pericardium in its shape of inverted J. On the side left, it opens into the rest of the pericardial cavity. The oblique sinus permits the pulsations of the left atrium to take place freely. This cul-de-sac is posterior to the totally left atrium. We can see here the inverted J, right? So short limb, vertical limb of the inverted J is formed by left pulmonary veins, superior and inferior respectively, right? Now the long vertical limb of the inverted J is formed by the superior vena cava, superior right pulmonary vein, inferior right pulmonary vein, and inferior vena cava. Okay, so I hope you understand nicely. Now what are the content of the pericardium? Heart with cardiac vessels and nerves, ascending aorta, pulmonary trunk, and lower half of the superior vena cava. Okay, so these are the content we can see in the given diagram. Now blood supply of the pericardium. The fibrous and parietal pericardia are supplied by branches derived from the internal thoracic artery. Is a branch of the subclavian, first part of the subclavian artery. Then musculophrenic arteries. These are the terminal branches of the internal thoracic arteries. The descending thoracic aorta and veins drain into the corresponding veins. Nerve supply of the pericardium is very important. The fibrous and parietal outer layer of the serous pericardium are supplied by the phrenic nerves. They are sensitive to pain. The epicardium is supplied by the autonomic nerves of the heart and is not sensitive to pain. Right? Is not sensitive to pain. Pain of pericarditis. Pericarditis matlab inflammation of the pericardium. So that pain of pericarditis originated in the parietal pericardium alone. On the other hand, cardiac pain or angina pectoris originated in the cardiac muscles or in the vessels of the heart. Clinical anatomy of the pericardium. Abnormal collection of the fluid in the pericardial cavity, condition called the pericardial effusion. We have to aspirate the fluid, or also pericardial effusion is known as a cardiac tamponade. Then fluid is drained by puncturing, we can see in the given diagram. So here is the sternal angle. On either side, the second costal cartilage is attached. So we can count the ribs. So here the second rib is articulated here. So this is the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Okay. So here we can say introduce the pericardial effusion between the theory. You can see fifth or sixth intercostal space. So space between second and third is called the intercostal space. Right. So here these are the intercostal spaces visualized in the given diagram. So how to drain the abnormal fluid between the pericardial cavity. Here we can see puncturing the left fifth or sixth intercostal space just lateral to the sternum. Just lateral to the sternum. So this is the sternum and this is the lateral to the sternum, or the angle between the xiphoid process and the left costal cartilage. You can see here the xiphoid process is visualized and this is the costal margin. So another we can say, or the angle between the xiphoid process and the left costal margin with needle directed upward, backward and to the left. We can see directed upward, backward and to the left side. So needle should be directed upward, backward and to the left side. Now applied, commonly called the pericarditis, inflammation of the pericardium, pericardial effusion, excess fluid within the pericardial sac may lead to cardiac tamponade, compressing the heart. Constructive pericarditis is the one more important applied aspect of the pericardium called the constructive pericarditis. Abnormal thickening of the pericardium which compresses the heart impairing the heart functions. Now, second topic, that is the coronary arteries. These are the coronary arteries, are 2 in number, which supplying the heart. Right and left coronary arteries. I think all of you have heard about that coronary angiography. दादा दादी के साथ mostly करवाते रहते हैं. So the angiography in which the radiopaque dye is injected by the contrast medium using, and the visualizing arteries are called the angiography, which can visualizing the arteries on the screen. Now right coronary artery and left coronary artery, right? We'll do first about the right coronary artery. It is smaller than the left coronary artery, arises from the aortic sinuses. We can see now here in the diagram. So these are the chambers of the heart. This is the left ventricle. Left ventricle which purified blood which convey to the other part of the body through the aorta. Aorta divided into 3 parts: ascending aorta, arch of aorta and descending aorta. Now our ascending aorta give rise to the 2 aortic sinuses, right and left. And anterior aortic sinuses 1 and 2 posterior aortic sinuses. So you can see the right coronary artery. Okay. Now it's small, of course, first passes forward and to the right to the emerge on the surface of the heart between the pulmonary trunk and right auricle. So we can see between pulmonary trunk, this is the pulmonary trunk and here is the right auricle. So between these two, it emerges and to the right side. Then runs downwards in right anterior coronary sulcus to the junction of the right and inferior border of the heart. We can see here the junction, the inferior border of the heart. Okay. Now, it winds round the inferior border to reach the diaphragmatic surface of the heart. Here it winds round the inferior surface. Okay. Now here it runs backwards and to the left in the right posterior coronary sulcus to reach the posterior interventricular groove. This is the anterior interventricular groove, is visualizing on the sternocostal surface, and posterior interventricular groove is on the diaphragmatic surface. Now here, so we can see it winds round here, inferior border to reach the diaphragmatic surface of the heart, and here it runs backwards and to the left in the right posterior coronary sulcus, and here the coronary sulcus in which the 2 atria separated from the 2 ventricles, and here is the part right posterior coronary sulcus to reach the posterior interventricular groove and terminates by anastomoting with the left coronary artery. Here you can see the diagram. Origin of the coronary arteries from the aortic sinus is the transverse section. Okay. Now these are the ascending part of the ascending aorta. Anterior aortic sinus we can see, and the posterior aortic sinuses are 2, right and left. So we can see the left posterior aortic sinuses. Here is the right posterior aortic sinuses. So we can see, as per the lecture, the right coronary arteries arises from the anterior aortic sinus. Okay, so we have seen in the description, arises from the anterior aortic sinuses. So anterior aortic sinuses give rise to the right coronary arteries. Here you can see, and these are the branches given by the right coronary artery, the marginal branch, and visualizing here. And here on the posterior interventricular groove we can see. Okay. Now it gives rise to the posterior interventricular branch. Now we are anastomoting with the left coronary artery. So this is the left coronary artery. Now, what are the branches of the right coronary artery? The large branches are called the marginal and the posterior interventricular. Small branches called the nodal. In 60% of the cases, right atrial and the infundibular and the terminal. Now, In detail about the, you can see the conus branches are also visualized here, right? Okay, so this is about the branches of the right coronary artery. We can see SA nodal in the 60% of the cases, conus and AV nodal and the marginal. This is about the left coronary artery, give rise to the circumflex branch is visualizing here, and this is the another branch. Posterior interventricular artery is also visualizing, anterior interventricular, and this is the diagonal branch. The important is the diagonal branch. Branches of the coronary arteries combined. We'll discuss about the left coronary artery later on. Now branches in detail of the right coronary artery. One is the important is the atrial branch, are anterior, posterior and lateral. One of the anterior atrial branch is called SA nodal artery. It arises from the right coronary artery in 60% of the cases. So here you can see SA nodal artery. Okay. So this is the figure. Then right conus artery forms an arterial circle around the pulmonary trunk with a similar branch from left coronary artery, and the circle is here called the annulus of Vincennes. So here you can see the diagram. So another conus branch is going to form the circle. Is going to form the circle around the pulmonary trunk. This is the pulmonary trunk. So here going to form the circle. This is the pulmonary trunk, give rise to the two pulmonary arteries. Okay. Now third branch, ventricular branches are anterior and posterior group. The anterior group lies on the sternocostal surface, while posterior group traverses the diaphragmatic surface of the heart. We can see here the sternocostal. So sternocostal surface, and here is the diaphragmatic surface. This is the coronary sulcus, in which located the trunks of the coronary arteries. So posterior surface going to form by the left. These two are the left superior pulmonary vein and left inferior pulmonary vein. So two pulmonary veins on the left side, two pulmonary veins on the right side. So these are the branches. So circumflex branch of the left coronary we'll discuss it later on. But you can see here the right coronary artery is nicely visualizing. So here the SA nodal branch, these are the conus branches, then you can see the circumflex, and these are the marginal branches and give rise to the posterior interventricular branch. Okay, posteriorly, dotted line indicating the posterior interventricular branch. Now branches of the right coronary artery, right marginal artery, another fourth number branch arises at the right corner, crosses the right border of the heart. It runs along its inferior border till the apex of the heart, till the apex of the heart. You can see marginal, okay, so it runs, this is the apex of the heart. So it runs up to the apex of the heart as per the theory. Now posterior interventricular branch close to the crus of the heart and lies at the posterior interventricular groove. Now here you can see posterior interventricular groove, dotted line indicating the posterior interventricular groove. Now area of distribution of right coronary artery. Before going in detail, I will show you the diagram. You can see the section, transverse section through the ventricle showing the areas supplied by the two coronary arteries. We can see here the right ventricle, we can see here the left ventricle indicating right side and left side. We can see here the area of the ventricles are supplied by the right coronary artery, here indicating the light yellow color. Okay. Now area of the left ventricle along with the part of these supplied by the left ventricle, here area supplied by the left coronary artery. Okay. Now we'll discuss this about the area supplied by right coronary artery. So we can say here the right ventricle, this is the left ventricle. Okay. Now between these two there is the interventricular septum. So divide into two parts. The posterior, here you can see posterior 1/3 part and anterior 2/3 part. So here we can see the area supplied by the right coronary artery, that is the major is the right ventricle, except the adjoining part at the anterior interventricular groove, because these dotted dark orange color indicating area supplied by the left coronary artery, and that's why here excluding part is area supplied by the left coronary artery near the anterior interventricular groove. So here the anterior 2/3 and the posterior 1/3. So again the posterior 1/3 part of the interventricular septum is supplied by the right coronary artery. Adjoining here you can see the left ventricle. Now here excluding here the whole dotted dark area indicating that area is supplied by the left coronary artery. Now here you can see. Okay, so as per the theory, the area of the distribution of the right coronary artery of the heart, the right atrium, then ventricles, then the ventricles, the greater part of the right ventricle, except the area adjoining the anterior interventricular groove. As I shown in the diagram, except the area adjoining the anterior interventricular groove. ठीक है यहाँ तक. Now posterior 1/3 part of the interventricular septum. Posterior 1/3 part of the interventricular septum. Here you can see interventricular septum. The posterior 1/3 part of the interventricular septum is supplied by the right coronary artery. Then the whole of the conducting system of the heart, except a part of the left branch of the AV bundle, SA node, is supplied by the left coronary in area about 40% of the cases. Now, left coronary artery. Left coronary artery again is a larger than the right coronary artery and arises from the left posterior aortic sinus. So we can see here the ascending aorta give rise to the anterior aortic sinus, gives the branches called the right coronary artery. But posterior aortic sinus divided into two, left posterior aortic sinus and right posterior aortic sinuses. So where the left coronary artery is derived, here we can see from the left posterior aortic sinus is here and is a larger than the right and terminal part anastomoting with the right part, right coronary artery. So this is the origin of the coronary arteries from aortic sinuses and their course in the coronary sulcus as seen after removal of the atria, the anatomical position of that, showing the diagram. Now what is so left coronary artery is very much prone for the myocardial infarction. The layman language is called the heart attack. Now here the course about the left coronary artery. First it runs here forward and to the left and emerge between the pulmonary trunk and the left auricle. Here it gives the anterior interventricular branch. It gives the anterior interventricular branch. So diagram showing here the left anterior interventricular branch of the left coronary artery. So here the pulmonary trunk and here we can see the left auricle. So here the ascending aorta. So this is the right coronary artery from the right anti-aortic sinuses and this is the left anterior aortic sinus, post-aortic sinuses. This is the left coronary artery. So between the pulmonary trunk and the left auricle. Now this is the right atrium, this is the right ventricle, this is the left ventricle. So between the groove, right ventricle and left ventricle, there is a groove called the interventricular groove anterior here. So this is about anterior interventricular groove which lodges the trunk of the branch of the left coronary artery, where the posterior interventricular groove which is on the inferior aspect, that light color indicating that one. So first it runs forward and to the left and emerges between the pulmonary trunk and the left auricle. Here it gives the anterior interventricular branch which runs downwards in the groove of the same name as we have seen in the diagram. The further continuation of the left coronary artery is also called here the circumflex artery. Is called the circumflex artery. We can see here the continuation is called the circumflex. The left coronary artery, where it is located? Close to the apex at the inferior border. So we can say here the branches of the left coronary artery. Number 1, anterior interventricular branch and circumflex. Posterior interventricular branch is a branch of right coronary artery. After giving off anterior interventricular branch, artery runs to the left in the left anterior coronary sulcus. It winds round left border of the heart and continues in the left posterior coronary sulcus. Near the posterior interventricular groove, it terminates by anastomoting with the right coronary artery. So right coronary artery anastomoting with the posterior interventricular groove with the posterior left posterior coronary sulcus के वहाँ पे anastomoting. Now what are the branches of the left coronary arteries? Major branches and minor branches. The large branches are the anterior interventricular groove, branches to the diaphragmatic surface of the left ventricle, including the large diagonal branch. Which is the large diagonal branch is called here. So we can see the diagonal branch. Diagonal branch of the anterior interventricular artery is a branch of the left coronary artery. Now small branches are the left atrial and the pulmonary and the terminal. So large are 2 and small are 3. Now in detail about the anterior interventricular branch of the left coronary artery is a large branch. It descends in the anterior interventricular groove as seen in the diagram. It gives other branches called the anterior ventricular branch for the ventricles. The large branch which is called the left diagonal artery. Another, the septal branches of the anterior interventricular branch which supplies the anterior 2/3 of the interventricular septum. We have seen the transverse section. Then the left conus artery forms an arterial ring around the pulmonary trunk with a similar branch from right coronary artery. The major another branches is called the circumflex artery. Is a branch terminal part of the left coronary artery after it has given off the large anterior interventricular branch. Okay. Now it runs in the left anterior coronary sulcus we have seen in the diagram, then curves around the left border of the heart to lie in the left posterior coronary sulcus. It ends by anastomoting with the terminal part of the right coronary artery, a little to the left of the crux. Its branches are again circumflex divided into the left marginal, anterior and posterior ventricular and atrial branches. The left marginal which lies along the left border of till the apex of the heart, here you can see. Then the anterior and posterior ventricular branches and atrial branches which are in anterior, posterior and lateral groups. These are important for the angiography to know the blockage of the coronary arteries. So again, this is the right coronary artery, this is the left coronary artery. Ascending aorta give rise to the marginal of the right coronary. Here we can see diagonal and here you can see circumflex. Again the area of the distribution of the left coronary artery like right coronary artery we have seen in the diagram. The main area of distribution of the left coronary artery is the left atrium. Then the ventricles, right and left, greater part of the left ventricle except the area adjoining the posterior interventricular groove. This is the posterior interventricular groove. So area adjoining the posterior interventricular is supplied by the right coronary artery. So again the light orange color indicating area supplied by the right coronary artery and dark dotted orange color indicating area supplied by the left coronary artery. These are the right and left. So this is the right ventricle, this is the left ventricle. Both of these two are separated again I will repeat by the interventricular septum, divided into posterior 1/3 and anterior 2/3. So posterior 1/3 light color orange indicating supplied by the right coronary artery and anteriorly 2/3 by the left coronary artery. So we can say here the left ventricle is supplied by the left coronary artery here, but area adjoining here excluding here the posterior interventricular groove. And same here the near the anterior interventricular groove excluding part of the right ventricle, here we can see, is supplied by the left ventricle. So transverse section through the ventricle showing the areas supplied by the two coronary arteries. So, as per the theory, greater part of the left ventricle except the area adjoining posterior interventricular groove and small part of the right ventricle, right? Now, adjoining the anterior interventricular groove here. Now, anterior part of the interventricular septum and the fourth one is the part of the left branch of the AV bundle. So, this is about the area of distribution of the left coronary artery, diagram indicating that one. Now, what is the clinical anatomy of the coronary aspect? Arteries is more important in the living study. We can see the most important one, that is called the thrombosis of the coronary artery. Is a changes called in the advanced age the atherosclerotic arteries. Thrombosis of the arteries, coronary arteries, is a common cause of the sudden death in the person's past middle age. And this is due to the myocardial infarction and the ventricular fibrillation. These are the two major conditions clinically. Here we can see in the patient suffering from the MI. MI is the myocardial infarction, is the anatomical name given by the clinical anatomical name for the heart attack, the layman person using the heart attack. So this is due to the myocardial infarction and ventricular fibrillation. Condition is called the thrombosis of the coronary artery. Is a common cause of the sudden death in the person that in the past middle age. Now the diagram showing here the aorta. Here you can see. This is the diagram showing ascending aorta give rise to the right and left coronary arteries. Now this is the area supplied by the, I told you about that the more prone for the heart attack, that is the left coronary artery. Now myocardial infarction due to the blockage of the anterior interventricular branch of the left coronary artery. Here the diagram showing the area of myocardial infarction. Now, second clinical anatomy of the coronary arteries are the incomplete obstruction and usually due to the spasm of the coronary artery causes the angina pectoris, which is associated with the agonizing pain in the pectoral region and down the middle side of the left arm and the forearm. So, pain gets relieved by putting the sorbitrate tablet, appropriate tablets below the tongue, that is a sublingual route. Immediately treatment for the angina pectoris. Now another, the patient suffering from the MI, angina pectoris, indicating by the surgeon, cardiac surgeon, to do immediately the angiography, that is called the coronary angiography. Angiography is a contrast medium study in which the radiopaque dye is injected to find out the lesion associated with the blockage of the coronary arteries. We determine the site of the narrowing of the occlusion of the coronary arteries or their branches. Right? Now the patient suffering from that, if the patient blockage, and here angiography treatment is the angioplasty, which helps in the removal of the small blockage. It is done using the small stent or small inflated balloon through a catheter which passed upwards through the femoral artery, aorta, into the coronary artery. The diagram showing here the stent passed in the blocked coronary artery. Okay. Now we can see the third important artery, most important you have heard in the layman language, that the bypass of the heart is done, and that is called the CABG. So if there are the last segment of multiple site of the blockage called the coronary artery bypass grafting, commonly called the CABG, that is the bypass surgery for the heart attack patient, is done using either great saphenous vein or the internal thoracic artery in the graft section. So how many graft? One is the saphenous vein and one is the internal thoracic artery. So diagram showing here the artery, you can say here the internal thoracic artery is a branch of the subclavian artery, and here you can see the left carotid artery we can see. So one important graft is the internal thoracic graft, and we can see here the venous blood indicating the superior and inferior vena cava respectively. So this is the venous graft. So how many graft are there? One is the great saphenous vein is important for the venous graft, and internal thoracic artery is important for the internal thoracic graft. So both of these two are the CABG study is done in the given diagram. Now the diagram for that one, Thank you so much.